Yeah, welcome to the Peace in the Morning Show. It's Funky Friday, baby. Come on, let's go. Yeah, it's hot topics today, baby. Hot topics. Come on in. Let's get ready to roll. Got my brother on here this morning. We're going to light it up. And you know a kind man, he never knows how to hurt. These are the virtues for you and for me. Oh. This is the way that I live. These are the things that I see. My mama, she told me, she said, blow by, blow by, blow by, got to blow by, blow by. A person who is charitable, expresses a brotherly love, and devotion is a service to the Almighty One whom you love. With courage we can marshal our very own power, and with precision we become exact, more accurate by the hour. All right, y'all, it's Funky Friday. Here we go. These are the virtues for you and for me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And these are the things that I see. Here we go, y'all. Yeah. All right. Good morning. Peace and love. Welcome to the Peace in the Morning Show. It's Funky Friday. I'm here with none other than my good brother from the Obama Foundation's focus on young brothers, running here, My Brother's Keeper in Prince George's County, an activist focused on making sure that we get voting rights in the United States. He's taking it on firsthand, and he's very serious with it. We talked about it 2 weeks ago. He started a 100-day liquid fast. I jumped on a 100-day alcohol-free fast. So no alcohol for me for 100 days. I'll talk to you about that. But let me say good morning to my brother. Peace and love, King. What's up, brother?
Peace
Robert
and
Johnson.
Love, King Darius. That's the way we need to get every day started, right? If we're going to go into the music, let's bring that music to our spirit, right? Let that sister bring those words to you. Connect with the elders, right? And just feel that spirit within you, right? So great way to start the show off. As always, I knew you were going to bring it. So I'm just happy that every Friday, these last 2 Fridays, I could be with you, participating with you to bring forth this message on what not only of what I'm doing, but your message and community engagement, activism, and bringing what we need as a community forward, right? So that we can actively discuss and, more importantly, engage in trying to change and solve and bring some solutions to these challenges and problems.
No doubt about it. So, thanks everybody who's jumping on. Make sure you share the show right now. We got a special campaign going. We are focusing on, today is hot topics, right? So one of the reasons why we got it as hot topics is because we're going to get in, we're going to hit it. It's a lot happening. So we want to make sure that we provide, some semblance, some solutions. So we got hot topics, hot solutions, and we got a hot campaign that we're doing right now. We ask you to donate and give for coats. There are a lot of young people. You cannot imagine. I was in Annapolis yesterday, and there were children outside like 9:30, 10 o'clock, no coats on. That's not foreign, right? So I need you to share this show because we are, we're generating funds to put coats on children, right? And so we're looking for your donations. Love Stream 422. That's Cash App Love Stream 422. We'll put it in the chat. But the other hot topics that we have today, we're going to deal with the 100-day fast and find out from Brother Robert Johnson why he decided to send a letter to President Biden. We got some hot topics, some stuff to talk to him about. He made a crazy statement saying that the justice system worked. The jury system worked is actually what he said in the case of Rittenhouse, when he was found not guilty of any of those charges after bringing a gun across state lines, just a host of things. And people lost their lives and were injured. And he let him, I mean, he not only did he give him a pass, but he doubled down on the injustice of a justice system. In addition to that, we're going to talk about the violence in schools in our communities. What's going on? There was a recent beating in one of the schools in Howard County where police officers started to punch and really to take down. They already had him down, but to subdue or whatever it was they called it. But aside from that, we got to stop just reacting when we see people outside of our community beating on us. We got to address the fact that we're beating on ourselves, right? So sure, we need to hold people accountable that are paid to protect and serve us, but we also have to hold ourselves accountable to make sure that the communities where our children are living in are also safe. The homes that they're living in are also safe. So we're definitely going to deal with the violence in schools and communities. Then we're going to focus on long-term health. There's a new variant coming up. Do you know there's a new flu every year? It's not the same flu. Right. So we got it. But you prepare yourself. You eat right. You do the things, you get your rest. You drink. Your gut is your pathway to a healthy immune system. So how is your intestine? How are your bowels moving? All of those are keys to having a healthy life. And, whatever it is that you decide you want to take or put in your body or ejaculate or whatever, inoculate into the body, you got to determine what are you going to do with it, right? Like, what are you going to do long term? You can't keep letting somebody else dictate your health. You have to dictate, those things for yourself. Then last but not least, self-hatred, portrayed in our music, and it's causing us to kill each other. We're talking about shooting and killing, right? We're talking about taking perks and disrespecting this one, or if you cross me, I'm gonna jam you with this, or I'm gonna blow your block, or whatever, right? And then we end up dead. It's the same music we were rapping about. So we speaking it into existence. And Stacey Abrams running for governor. We're gonna, if we get a chance and time to talk about that. But let's get right back into the 100-day fast. Peace and love. Jackie Mims, thanks for checking in. We appreciate it. Josephine Brown, the CMOS queen. But brother Robert, so now what day is this of your 100-day?
I'm on day 19, brother. Day 19, all liquids, right? So 81 more days left. My first full meal will be February 23rd. 2024.
Wow, February
day
23rd.
19. Made it through the first holiday break. I'm still going strong.
Yo, so look, so I gotta say this. A lot of people send you messages and whatnot. Happy holiday, happy Thanksgiving. Technically, just for the record, hot topic. Thanksgiving was a murderous holiday. People were murdered, right? Their families that still mourn on this day. So, we take the opportunity, of course, when we are days off and everything is shut down, families can come together, enjoy themselves, eat, but do it in solidarity with people who have lost their lives. Do it in celebration of your families. Don't do it in the name of Thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
The name of Thanksgiving that was created but we gotta stop. We gotta separate things that are rooted and founded in wickedness
and genocide
and genocide,
right? They gave them a way to eat. They gave them poisoned blankets, right? They practiced genocide on them, right? So I look at it as I just celebrate the time for just being with my family. It's a day that I know I'm going to be with my mom and my sisters and my family. I look at it just being grateful. Number one, to waking up that day, and then just a time for us just to reflect on what we've gone through as a family, and to try to reconnect as a family. But then also a day to build with the next generation that's coming behind us, right? To look at the little ones in the family, to give them some of those life lessons, while you're eating a meal or while everyone's together, to let them see unity and what unity in the family and what it should look like, right? So that's why I celebrate that day. But you're so right. We need to talk about the myth of Thanksgiving and the myth of what happened with the Pilgrims and the Native Americans here, indigenous people here.
So, you had an opportunity to go down, North Carolina. You're a North Carolina boy, just like
Savannah, Georgia.
I was down in Savannah.
Yeah, both sides of my family are from Savannah. I'm born and bred in New York, but my home, right, Savannah, Georgia.
So you were there, and is your mom in Savannah?
Yes, sir.
And so you had to tell your mom on Thanksgiving, on this day that Mom, after she fixing all this good food, Mom, I'm not gonna be able to eat your food because I'm in another state. I told you, tell her that she gonna have to blend it up. You gonna have to make that a soup.
That's right. So if I tell you those the words that she gave back to me, King, you may have to you may have to pay a fine on this radio station. So I'm not going to give you those choice words. Those four letter words are put together in some long precarious sentences, right? So at the end of the day, Mom, all mothers, they love to prepare meals for their children, things like that. So Mom, look, we need to sacrifice. We need to sacrifice something, and I can sacrifice 100 days to get this to bring awareness to this John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Why is it important? It's important because we need to make certain that we can put an end to voter suppression, that we can make certain that the Senate will vote on passing this legislation that the House has already moved on and passed, but we need to get it to the floor in the Senate, and we need it to pass, right? We need to make certain that every able body in these United States, quote, air quotes, right, that wants to vote has the ability to vote, right? And they can vote. One man, one woman, one vote, right? So there is a continuous effort to suppress the vote, to suppress the votes in each state, right? As I noted before, there are laws on the books in 19 states right now that are affecting individual rights to come out. Let me just give you a little bit of data, okay? So in 2016, right, I'll tell you, so you look at the 2020 elections, right? In 2020, 63% of Black Americans turned out to vote, right? In 2016, 60% of us came out to vote, right? So that's an increase of 3%, right? What happened in 2020? We flipped quite a few states, and we were integral in changing the presidency, right? You look at 2020, 59% of Asians came out to vote, right? That's a 10% increase over 4 years prior to that in 2016. The Hispanics and Latino vote, 54% in 2020 to 50% in 2008 and 2016. So there is a concerted effort to reduce those numbers, right? To take it back to 16 to 12 and everyone else and all of those numbers to decrease the percentages of the way that my African Americans, Latinos, and Asian Americans are coming out to vote. How do you do that? You reduce the primary time. You can now reduce the opportunity to put ballot boxes in. You can make it more stringent. You can put in more stringent ID laws. So there's so many different ways to suppress the vote, and it's happening. It's happening. You mentioned Sister Stacey Abrams. Quote from Stacey Abrams: "Voter suppression acts as a means of denying policies, and it is backed in the DNA of America. It has been perfected in recent years." Right? Voter suppression isn't simply saying you can't vote. Voter suppression is both the physical activity and it's also a psychic effect, telling people their votes won't count and telling them that the system is rigged and that that their votes won't matter. So guys, we have to remember this. Voter suppression is not only the physical, stopping individuals physically from voting, but to condition them to think that my vote doesn't matter, right? To have them so disengaged with the voting process, right, that they won't go out and cast a vote. So that's the psychological part of voter suppression.
Well, just looking at things beyond the surface, right? Having people understand it's a mind shift, and why it's so important to not only pay attention to what you just did. You broke down the dynamics and the numbers behind what's transpiring, and so you could actually see what took place when people really got engaged and moved. And now you see the remnants of that, because you've got large cities that have urban centers with African American mayors. The key is, are we breeding leadership that to make sure when we get people in those positions that they're going to move forward, like the mayor in Baltimore City, who's doing an excellent job in terms of focusing on things that really matter. He said,
Absolutely.
I'm not putting more police on the street. I'm putting more mental health counseling on the street. I'm putting more drug treatment on the street. I'm putting more resources in our communities to stop the trauma and bleeding and harm that's taking place in our homes, which will stop the violence in our communities. You got a state's attorney in Baltimore City who said, I'm not going to continue to lock people up for marijuana when marijuana has been deemed in the state, first of all, as for medicinal purposes. And therefore, we shouldn't be locking people up for something that we're curing people with, right? And in addition to that, she said, we're clogging up the system and putting more people in jail that is not rehabilitating them. So, these are people who are being bold for good. Well, that's what you've got to be able to do when you make sure that you're taking the route like this brother is. So I thank you for doing that. 100-day liquid fast. We'll continue to find. Have you gotten any responses from the letters that you sent to Biden?
We have not. I have not. Actually, I have gotten response from Senator Cardin's office, right? So I am going to continue to send additional letters, right, to the majority whip in the Senate, right, and others. And I will encourage individuals. And what I need to send to you, King, is a copy of a letter that you can cut and paste and send to your listeners so that they can also send this letter to their Senate representatives. And followed up with a call as well. And like you indicated earlier, everyone, this 100-day fast may not be for you, right? Brother Joe Madison he's calling it a hunger strike. He's going all the way through until the bill is passed, right? I took it a step. I'm not going that far. So he's going all the way through. I'm doing.
He's not eating at all. He's just drinking water.
He's doing liquid fast as well.
Okay. Right? So he's going all the way until it's get done.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Right. So I'm taking it, one step at a time. It may be 100 days for me. And at the 100-day mark, I may extend it. But right now, my countdown is at 100. So whatever your space is and whatever you choose to do, right, a movement is based on sacrifice, right? So we have to think about movements and not moments, right? We need to create a movement on where we're going to make certain that we have access to the voting booth. But like you indicated, that when we have individuals there, make certain that they're doing things that are bold and that are good for our community, right? So not the popular individual, right? But the individual that's willing to say, hey, you know what? We're willing to invest in these communities, right? And do the right thing. Let's look at long-term solutions, right? The marijuana stuff, locking individuals up for marijuana, that's a short-term strategy. That's just removing people from the street. But then what happens when they're incarcerated? There's so many more detrimental effects from an incarcerated youth or an adult that comes back into society, right, with so many other things, so many other challenges, than it is for actually locking them up. So let's treat, right, drug abuse, let's treat drug abuse and mental health as opposed to locking individuals up. So everyone can sacrifice and do something. That's the message. And everyone can talk about this voter suppression. Just to link it to one last thing, brother. In the Ahmaud Arbery case, remember, that district attorney was not going to bring the case forward, right? Because he was friends with one of the perpetrators of this crime, right? So how did he get to office? He was voted, he was elected into office, right? So we need to make certain that individuals like that are not elected into positions, right? So we need to make certain that we have access to this booth, to this voting booth, and that we get individuals in that understand the plight of all communities, right? And we do what's best, and make certain we what brothers will say, keep our foot on their neck until they do the right thing.
Yeah, you definitely addressed the issue, the Ahmaud Arbery case that, you know, so many instances where state's attorneys do exactly what she did. Not only did she ignore it, but then she tried to cover it up, and just totally, I mean, she worked hand in hand with them. And now she's being the former state's attorney there in that particular county, has been arrested. And, you know, for her part in covering it up and, you know, really trying to bury what was a lynching, you know, by shotgun. And, you know, that's happening all over the place. So when you pay attention to voting, you also need to pay attention to the judges. So, you know, you have judges that are running, you know, you need to understand what, you know, what their records are. You know, you need to look at, you know, what have some of the rulings been in their cases. Right now, on Ocean City, we went over, took a busload of folks over to Ocean City to address what was a terrible incident with young people on the boardwalk, beaten up by police officers, tased, unnecessarily kneed repeatedly. If you could have seen the size of these officers compared to these young boys, and they said that they, you know, were concerned about their safety. It was 3-4 officers, 3 or 4 of these young men. Officers were bigger than me, 6'6", 6'4", you know, and the teenagers were 6'1". The officers well over 200 pounds. The children were, you know, if 180, 175. Mm-hmm. You know, probably not even that heavy, but they resisted. They didn't resist, you know, arrest. So my point being, we can't just keep playing with this. We have to be very focused like you are, brother. And I commend you. Thank you again for coming on, you know, and making sure that people understand. Share this show. Again, we're doing a coat drive. We want you to, you know, reach out. We're in partnership with Mako Mentoring this week. And already, you know, raised up to 250. So now we want to keep pushing that number. So the Cash App is in the chat, Lovestream 422. Put Coat Drive in your notes. And, you know, we're working to put coats on young people in Washington, D.C., Prince George's County, Baltimore City, Anne Arundel County, Baltimore County, and on the Eastern Shore. So that's the area that we're planning on covering with this coat drive. And so your cash donations are greatly appreciated. You know, we'll definitely acknowledge you in each one of those drop-offs that we do when we do those deliveries to those families and children. So keeping it right along, next hot topic. So the other big thing that's happening right now is we got a lot of violence in our schools, in our communities. You know, we know that violence starts at home. So first and foremost, we started recruiting men in Anne Arundel County, actually, to go into schools, go into the communities. So far, we've been able to recruit 20 men who have agreed to go into public high schools where they've been fighting almost every day. In the case of Old Mill High School, in Meade High School, they've been fighting in Annapolis High School, all over the state, all over the country, at Wise High School in Prince George's County. They've been having a number of fights, melees. You know, police have been brought into schools. People have brought knives to protect themselves, guns. I mean, it's really, really, really a serious situation. And so that's the hot topic, you know, violence in the schools and the community. What are the solutions? You know, give it to us in the chat. What are you saying, Robert? What are you seeing that's going to make the difference? What's the solution to?
Well, the solution, we need to make certain we start to target families, right? So the violence really occurs before the individual gets to the school, right? Because they're waking up in a traumatic situation, right? So they're experiencing trauma, right? And that trauma is then they're bringing that trauma to the schools, right? So that cycle of violence, that cycle of hurt, that cycle of pain, right? It's being perpetrated physically and acted upon in their environment, right? Which from 8 to 3:30 or 8 to 4 o'clock is the school system, right? So we need to say, how do we put these families in a better situation where they can instill family values, right? Self-worth, right? And then also problem solving skills, right? So, but that's all mental health. That's individual mental health and that's family health, right? But that needs to happen within that family and that community. We need to recognize that. But then number two, like we both know, there's access to weapons, right? So how do we reduce the accessibility of weapons? In DC last week, you didn't mention this. A gentleman found they captured a ghost gun in DC. A ghost gun is a gun that has no serial number on it. It cannot be traced, right? So whereas if I have a gun, if I were to discharge it, you would know exactly through the bullets and the casing and everywhere else. You can trace that back to the owner. A ghost gun is something that cannot be traced at all. You cannot trace that gun back at all to anyone, right? So he found that in a school. That's a serious problem, right? To be able to have that weapon and those type of weapons there, right? So to reduce these problems, we need to be able to talk to our young people and talk to our families to find out what is troubling you and how can we better assist. Some individuals may say we need to create jobs and better economic opportunities in our community. I'm 100% in agreement with that. We need, in order, poverty, all of this comes from poverty, right? Not only poverty in a physical mindset, but not only poverty economically, but poverty mentally, right? And psychologically. So we need to change that poverty mindset, right? And change our way of thinking from a deficit model and to a model of we can and what we can do, right? So we need to change that, create opportunities for those families and create opportunities for our young people, but find out where this pain is coming from.
Right.
Where is this pain coming from and why do they feel the need to kill someone at that young age, right? We've gone through what we would call joning, right? Bullying and things like, I won't even call it bullying. Right? We call it playing the dozens and some other things, and and we got through it. Right now, our young people they have not, right, had the opportunity to really express themselves verbally in situations where when they feel pain or they feel ostracized.
Let's talk about the pain, right? We got a couple more hot topics. We're gonna jump on it and we're gonna get out of here. But we definitely got to talk about the pain. There was a movie my daughter watched that I've got to watch. Sit down and watch with her this weekend. It impacted her so much. And the name of the movie is HUD Sandwich. Hot. Cicely Tyson is one of the leading actors. I'll have it for you in a moment. But right behind that, we lost somebody dear in our community, and one of the people talking about what was transpiring in their lives was the fact that they were in so much pain. They were in so much pain that they went from smoking to now drinking, right? And using liquid PCP. You gotta be, and they said it's an escape. And people not realizing, we talk about bringing our young people off the street, from selling drugs, but think about the amount of money that they're making. And they're making that based on somebody's pain. That's really what it is. They're not doing it for joy. Like people like, they just getting high to get high to feel good. They're escaping something. What is it that people are escaping? Like, let's deal with the real issue. Stop dealing with the BS, right? The real issue. Like, why are people going consistently, leaving their families in the house at night, selling their bodies? They're not just doing that because they feel like that's what they're doing. Literally pimping out their own sons and daughters.
That's right. That's right.
That's a lot of pain. Nobody just
it,
wakes up in the morning and say, I'm going to sell my daughter for sex. I'm going to sell my son for sex. Nobody in their right mind does it. You got to be in a lot of pain.
That's right.
So what is causing the pain? Let's get to the root matter of it. Well, how do we address that?
That part of that pain is coming from the pressure that individuals feel to achieve a certain economic status, right? We have in too many of our communities, extreme poverty. Extreme poverty will allow you to feel comfortable, right? Taking extreme measures and exhibiting extreme behaviors that oftentimes are deviant behaviors to change that situation. And now we've normalized that deviant behavior, right? We actually celebrate some of that deviant behavior. So the pain that a father feels or a mother feels from not being able to feed their child, or a pain that a child feels in their stomach and things like that, they said, guess what? I'm going to change that. They're going to change that in air quotes by any means necessary, right? And I don't care if I have to go out and shoot somebody or sell something and do whatever. That temporary relief, right, of that economic pain, that temporary relief of that hunger, that temporary relief of me being in an impoverished situation is much better than me sitting back and trying to go through it. I can do it the fast way. So we've normalized deviant behavior and fast-tracked it, right? Where, okay, you know what? If I don't have money, I can take this gun and get it from somebody. Or I can go in the corner and sell and make some of it. Okay, I may have to do 5 years somewhere down the line, but this 3 years of me making $1 is going to be worth it, right? Okay, I'm going to put this sister or my son or my daughter, I'm going to pimp them out, like you just said, right? So that $100, that $200, that $300 is worth it for that time being, right? That's trauma. That's years and years and years of decades and hundreds of years of trauma on people, right? That are now coming out. And let's get to it. I just need immediate gratification, right? And I'll do anything that it takes to get it. And we're doing what? We're socially conditioning our young people to see it as normal behavior through music, through violence, through consistent messaging, both by our oppressors and sometimes, and too often, by ourselves, right, in our communities. So we need to continue, brothers like you, brothers like myself and others, brothers and sisters that are stepping out and trying to bring this message to everyone. Our messages need to be mobilized, right? So we need to be able to get this out. But unfortunately, when we talk like this, right, we are seen as an outsider. You're seen as the troublemaker, right? You're seen as the individual that's causing too many problems in the community, because in this society, you're stopping the flow of money, right? And there's this system is based off of, number one, it's created on our backs, and now it runs on our backs, right? And part of that is making sure that they can incarcerate us.
So we're gonna shift gears now to the next hot topic.
Pardon me, King. I can get into it.
Well, no, you brought us right to it, and that is short-term health. So, people are telling you, okay, they told you to go out and take one thing, then they said, now get another one. Then they go out and tell you to get a boost. But then heart disease is still killing more people in America, more people around the world than anything else. And we got you shooting on Monday through Friday at the clinic, but then Saturday morning we sending you to the church to get a rib sandwich. Mm-hmm. We sending people out and feeding them things that is causing heart disease, mm-hmm. which is killing us, cause cancer. This meat. I mean, you got to really think about your long-term health. You got to think about what it is that you're doing to address not only COVID, the flu. I saw somebody yesterday. Now they want you to go get shingles shots, right? So what are you doing to take care of your body in spite of all of these medicines that people want to give you that are chemically based versus the plant-based alternatives that are really America's healthcare system in 1920 was rooted in plant-based Native American practices and German-based homeopathic practices, which are both plant-based medicines. And so, what can we do to take care of our long-term health and stop focusing on just the short term, but the long term that's killing more people? 1.7 million people die every year of obesity, heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. 1.7, all preventable diseases.
Absolutely, absolutely, King, and that's a challenge, right? I tell anyone, if they choose to get the vaccination, everyone has a right to choose whether they want to get it or not. Make the best decision for you and your family, right? But along those lines, I say, now, if you're going to go out there and message someone, send a message for individuals to go out and do that, let's also send out the same message to do what? To end, to make something we can do better, that we can practice healthy living, right? Change your eating habits, right? To make certain that we can end these food deserts in our communities, right? Let's bring some of the soda off these shelves, right? Let's change some of these things. So, but people won't do that, right? Because again, Brother Darius, King Darius, right? There's money in this, right? It's the treatment that's making the money, right? So I can get you sick if you're not educated. An uneducated individual, right? They will have poor health care. They will have poor communities. They will invest. They will more oftentimes commit more crimes, right? So we need to think of holistically. How do we attack these challenges, right? So, and then viruses do what? They always mutate. They always mutate, right? No matter what. So we're at Omicron right now. What happens when we get to the letter Z, right? We start it over again, right? Next year in 2022, we should be at Z by that time, right? So then now you see we've gone from an injection to now a pill, right? So I guarantee you next year, let's come back to this show that they're going to have some type of inhaler possibly in 2022, 2023. Right?
Well, it's already, and they already, we had on our other show, Lights and Round Table, we had a sister who worked for GlaxoSmithKline. She ran their international operation. She said point blank, they're working on a annual shot for COVID, right? Mm-hmm. So the key is pay attention to your long-term health and your immune system and building your body up so that regardless of what comes, the body is prepared to adapt. So, focus on your long-term health and not just why is it that somebody else has to tell you to do the things that you need to do to take care of your own health and your own body? Mm-hmm. You have to be forced to do that, but yet you will voluntarily go get in line to eat and drink things that tell you that it on the label, read it, look it up. High fructose corn syrup, look it up. Look at the yellow number 5, all of the color food dyes, look it up. We talk about it all the time. Don't just, keep walking into death. I mean, it's real,
and it's highly addictive, right? Sugar is one of the most addictive drugs, right? That processed sugar is extremely addictive. So that's the challenge.
It breaks into the cell wall to disrupt the DNA.
That's correct. The challenge on Thanksgiving, Brother King Darius, wasn't the food at the table. It was those pies, the cookies, the cake, and everything else. It wasn't the food, right? Day to day. It's not the food that I'm missing. It's not the liquids that I'm missing, right? It's the sugar that my body's just chasing, right? So that's the fight. So, and that's another reason why the individual should fast. You have to detox and cleanse your body out, get rid of those toxins.
All right, so we're gonna keep it moving in our hot topics, winding on up. So we have been seeing a number of rap artists, hip hop, modern day, being killed in their own communities. And we see in our own neighborhoods, Baltimore City, Prince George's County, Chicago, Jackson, Mississippi, small towns in North Carolina, where we're shooting and killing one another. We're marching to stop police from killing us, but we're the marchers to stop us from killing us. We're the marchers to stop, these radio stations from playing music that tells you to go out and pop mollies. These radio stations that are playing music, they go out and tell you that, I'm going to shoot up and spray the whole block with my Glock around 9 o'clock, whatever, At what point do we realize that this self-hatred that we continue to perpetuate on the microphone and the airwaves, and our children are reading and listening to, and they jumping and bouncing around to it in the car, and next thing you know, they're in a position where they got a gun and they're out there shooting somebody? When are we going to make the connection to that and say it is unacceptable, especially when we're the only ones that are being paid to speak death into fruition into our communities? What's the solution? How do we shut that down?
It's an uphill battle, right? Because in warfare, right, you need to be able to control the lines of communication, right? That's one of the things you definitely need to be able to do.
Say it again.
One, we have to recognize that it is a war, right? And who's willing to fight this battle, and how often are you willing to fight this battle? If you're not willing to fight this battle every single second of every single day, we're going to lose. So we have to be able to control the airwaves, right? And with that messaging is not targeted only for today. It's targeted to do what? To socially condition the minds of the next generation. To do what? To normalize deviant behavior. You hit it on the head, King Darius. Black and brown communities are the only two communities that have music that celebrates shooting each other, celebrates calling women out of their names, celebrates over-sexualization in your communities, and just normalizing, that's for lack of a better term, thuggery, right? And Darius, I grew up in a certain environment. I like being free. Right? I don't want to go to jail. And then nobody wakes up and say, you know what, I want to go to jail today. Right? I want to do something that's going to lock me up for 10 years, for 25 years, right? You get conditioned to start to say, you know what, I don't mind sitting down for a minute. Nobody wants that, right? Or, just to say, how do you market murder? How do you market stringing someone out on drugs? How do you market raping women? How do you market, right, soliciting sex all day? How do you market over-sexualizing your women, your young ladies, your mothers, your daughters, right? We are the target audience, and unfortunately, we're also the messenger, right? So we're creating that cycle of violence in our own communities because we won't say no to it, right? That's addictive behavior. We are addicted. Unfortunately, right now, we're being conditioned to be addicted to deviant behavior and deviant messaging and normalizing that in our communities. And the sad part about this, King, is that adults are playing the music, right, with their kids sitting right next to them. I go at it back and forth with my daughters right now. There's certain things they just can't play on the radio in front of me, right? Or I won't play on the radio in front of them. When I was growing up, I did listen to rap music. I still listen to some of it, but there's certain things that I'm like, you know what? I can't get behind this because I can't say I'm against it and sit right next to you and bob my head or snap my fingers to it, or celebrate you dressing a certain way, or celebrating, a group of people just engaging in certain types of behaviors that I know it's not going to be beneficial to them or their communities. So that self-hate, it starts.
It starts at home.
It starts at home, brother.
Because you're allowing people to listen to it, just like you said. What are we teaching our children about ourselves? Who are we teaching them, to listen to pay attention to follow, to model? And, what television shows are you watching? Like you said, this is not something where you can be about it Monday through Thursday, but then Friday through Sunday, you decide you're going to take off. Our children are living in horror 24/7. And I keep going back to children that listen to gunshots every night, children that got to jump in the floor. They got a special place in their households where it's a safety space that they utilize, not just during a hurricane or a natural disaster, or if there were somebody to threaten your home. This is something that they utilize almost on a daily basis.
To go and do homework in the bathroom, in the bathtub, because they're afraid of a stray bullet. Come on. That's a war zone. That's a war zone.
So we have got to definitely shift that mindset, push positive media. When you find somebody that's singing a song that's hot and it's good, push it. Get those people 10 million views, get them paid. We got to learn how to pay people for doing good. Be bold for good.
Here's a challenge, King. Here's a challenge. I challenge. Let's try to do this one day. Let's take something that they're promoting on our airwaves, change one or two words into it, to a deviant language about other groups, and see if it then plays. Every time they use the N word, put another word in there. Every time they use the B word, put another word in there. And then guess what? Play that. Let's see if they play that. Just change two words. Anytime you hear the N word, change it with somebody else. Anytime you hear something about sex, over-sexualization, change that with another group. Then see how much play that music gets, right? Guarantee you won't make it. We wouldn't make it if we changed it. That's how real this is. That's how real this is. Why is it and rappers will tell you, I can't say that. That won't sell. I won't get. There's no way. Nobody will sign me if I say this. But you can call me out my name all day long. Like Dave Chappelle said when when people were talking about him, I said the N-word over 100 times during that show. But nobody had a problem with that. I made reference to something else. People went bananas, right? He said, I got $51 million offered to me for continuing to say the N-word, right? He's being rewarded for it. Right.
So wrapping up, King, we got the Queen in Georgia who helped basically change the landscape in this most recent Congress by registering over 800,000 people to vote. And that's Stacey Abrams. She's running for governor in the state of Georgia. She lost the last time. The state's attorney or the attorney general changed the rules.
That's right.
For his own election and got elected based on it. And now she's going to challenge him again. What needs to happen in order for her to become governor? And, what do you see transpiring in that situation?
I think they will have a strong ticket with her running at the top of it for governor. Senator Warnock, I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly, running. But also the people in Georgia understanding that they can come out in those numbers and that they saw that when they did come out, that their votes mattered, right? So she needs to continue to galvanize the state, right? But also understand, and she's smart enough to understand what the messaging is going to be. The messaging is going to come out. You're going to continue to hear things about critical race theory. You're going to continue to hear things about voter suppression. You're going to hear the things about, forcing mask mandates, right? You're going to talk about that because those are wedge issues, right? We're changing history in school. We're trying to make it seem like, they're trying to make us appear as they're the victims, right? So those are wedge issues. Right? She needs to stay on message, to talk about the local economy in Georgia, to talk about things that are happening there, and to talk about what she has done since her last run at being governor. Right, to talk about that, and I think she'll show very well. But she needs to understand this: it's galvanizing and getting individuals to come out. The downside could be, again, if people feel so disenfranchised right now, and we are. I feel that, right? People feel that their vote has not made a difference, that they
Right.
will not come out and vote. And that sister is strong.
Well,
right?
and
She's
especially
strong.
when you deal with issues like what you're talking about. Like we sent people to Congress and the White House to pass a bill to make sure that voting rights for Black people were no longer infringed upon.
Mm-hmm.
We sent people to the White House and the Congress to make sure that police would no longer be able to beat people and kill people and walk away with it and go home and sleep in their beds like nothing happened. And that's still taking place.
Absolutely.
We started off with the top of this show talking about what's transpiring in our communities with regard to our own violence and us taking responsibility and making sure that we go into our own neighborhoods and our own homes and communities and stop the violence and the pain and the trauma that was inflicted upon us from slavery and beyond. But we also want to hold the people accountable who are paid with our tax dollars, the very tax dollars that we are spending in grocery stores and entertainment venues and coming out of our paychecks. Those tax dollars are paying police officers to beat and kill people and get away with it? No. So, and where do we make that connect? We got to connect people who see what is going to happen. So the people who are in office who promoted and push these people to be there, they've got to hold them accountable. You're doing that by doing this 100-day liquid fast to make sure that President Biden and Congress, respond and pass that bill. But we also need a bill that protects and chastises and removes the protections from police officers from being able to beat and kill and torment and torture people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's the cycle of it, Darius. So that's why it's so important to pass this bill so we can get individuals there that may be willing to do the work. Right? If this bill does not get passed, we don't get individuals there that are willing to do the work, then legislation never changes. So whether we may never get a candidate in office that will support and lead change in our communities because our vote has been suppressed where that candidate is never successful, right? So that's the deleterious effect of it, right? It just happens. Like that's the cycle. So you can prevent change from happening by not only on the back end, but prevent it on the front end by never allowing those change agents to get in. And Stacey Abrams is a change agent, right? And that's what they fear. She knows how to galvanize. She knows how to mobilize. She's intelligent, right? And she's not afraid to say certain things, right? And what does she have? She has the support of our community. Not only our females in our community, but our men in our community, because she's demonstrated it through her actions and her commitment, right? And I'm not from Georgia, but it sounds like I'm campaigning for her. But the sister is strong.
I know that's right. Well, look, we appreciate you being here, brother. We're gonna start the show end the show like we started it. We want you to donate to our coat drive. Hashtag LoveStream422. Win a coat drive to make sure the children in Washington, D.C., Baltimore City, Anne Arundel County, Baltimore County, the Eastern Shore, they've got coats because their children right now outside in the winter without coat on. That's unacceptable. We can do something about it. Help us help you. Thank you, Mako Marketing, for being one of our sponsors and help to contribute to this Mako Mentoring. Thanks so much. Hey, Robert Johnson, God bless you as you continue to work on your 100-day fast. What day is this again, brother?
This is day 19, 81 days remaining, brother. And I want to bless you and thank you and wish you well as you continue on your fast, right? We're going to get to 100 and see if you can keep it going.
That's right.
Everyone can sacrifice something.
We on that 100-day alcohol-free fast. No alcohol for 100 days. And that is in protest to the alcohol that's being poured into our communities, being supported and promoted. It's killing us. If you look at sexual assaults, domestic violence, and homicides, alcohol is involved at least 40% of those cases, in each one of those instances, at least 40%, in some cases 50 to 60% in each one of those instances. Domestic abuse, sexual assaults, which is rapes, and homicides. So you tell me if we don't need to do something, we reduce the amount of alcohol that's in our communities.
Continue to get that message out there, brother.
There
Peace
you
and
go.
love.
This is Darius A. Stanton with our good brother Robert Johnson, and sending in our king DJ 5 Star is out at the golf links in Florida right now, raising money for a worthy cause down there. So shout out to the king as he's out there doing his thing on the golf course, raising money, being bold for good. We need you, please. Hey, take time out and be bold for good. We need your support. We need your donations. Remember, we want to help children stay warm so they can focus on the things they need to focus on, just living. They shouldn't have to worry about being cold. Check it out. Come on, we need you. We need your support. We counting on you. Peace in the morning. Just got another donation. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Hey, come on, we need your support. We got to keep these children warm. Be bold for good. We can do it. We're going to do it. It's happening. Things are going to get better. They're getting better. Good leadership is rising. In the midst of all this ugliness that's transpiring, there are tons of people being bold for good. Won't you join us? Come on, help us out. Thank you so much. This is Darius A. Stanton with DJ 5 Star saying peace in the morning. Here it is. Watch. Hey, share the show. Share the show so we can get our young people out, warmed up, covered up like they need to be. We appreciate you. Thank you. God bless you.
Discrimination is the ability to see the real truth. And no matter what you read or see on TV, it always deals with you. So be patient and be lovable and please be kind. Keep discrimination and discipline in the back of your mind. And be lovable and understanding and obedient to your truths.
Cause these are the only reals.
Oh, these are the only real.
The only real.
Hey, these are the only real. Oh, these are the
Here it is. Check it out.
real.